Okay, let's get started. So who here is familiar with the concept of decision intelligence beside me and people from FlexRule? No one? Okay. So this is a meetup about decision intelligence, and we're going to talk about decision intelligence in a couple of minutes later on down the path of the conversation for the CX. But let's get it started. So thank you everyone for joining us. And this is the fifth meetup for decision intelligence. We generally discuss different topics related to decision intelligence. This time is about customer experience and AI decisioning. And we're going to see the relation between AI decisioning, customer intelligence, and decision intelligence. Customer experience and decision intelligence. Now, let's pause here. So a reality check. This is a report from Forrester. Who knows Forrester? Okay. This is very interesting. So Forrester is a big firm that they do research and they provide services as part of the consultation and research, either into the B2B or B2C space. So this is a research about the customer experience, and it's shocking. So more than half of the brands in 2025, they didn't move a needle about the customer experience, and more than 1/3 of them make the customer experience worse. And despite all the fact that we have so many data and AI and machine learning and advancement, so obviously this is not related, the decline is not related to the accuracy of the algorithm or how advanced this AI is or whatever. And let that sink, because this is the second year in a row that is declining. So in personal experience, I wish I can say, like 5 years ago, when I was in touch with many brands, insurance, banking, whatever, I had a better experience than like after COVID and so on. So this is a reality check and very interesting one. Now, before getting to the nitty-gritty of the things and see what we think the root cause is and how we can address it, let's have a quick discussion or quick talk about the actual customer experience. So what is customer experience and why do we need it? Many brands may say, oh, we don't need customer experience. This is for billion-dollar brands. But the reality is, if you want customer loyalty, meaning that do you want to keep your existing customer? Do you want to sell more product and services to the same customer? And do you want the customer advocates for you, word of the mouth? Then you care about the customer experience. And if any of those, if the yes is the answer to any of those questions, meaning that you need to care about the customer experience. Now, how do we measure the customer experience is the CX quality, customer experience quality. Effectiveness is an emotion. So effectiveness is the product and services we're providing to the customer really solves their problem and how good that solves the problem. Easy is how easy is for the customer to find the product and services we do, and how easy is for them to get in touch. Have you been in the call for any insurance or banking that you're sitting there for an hour and you can't get contact in anyone that have a meaningful conversation? So that's really what it is. And then emotion, if even you buy or they solve your problem, when you're out of that touch zone, how do you feel? Do you feel, okay, I was understood and they understand me and they provide whatever it is that solves my problem, beside the fact whether you bought or you didn't, but the emotion side of it, do you feel good or it's like crap experience? So that's how you measure it. And Forrester has a CX index. This is a framework around how you measure customer experience. I'm not going down the path of explaining all the nitty-gritty of it. You can go to Forrester and download this. It's an interesting framework to really monitor and measure the customer experience. Now, having that in mind, how do generally organizations go about improving customer experience? It happens that many of the organizations, even today, they start with something called customer journey. So customer journey is when you are a customer or a prospect of any brand, like banking, insurance, think of your bank or your insurance, right? You go through different stages. So you just signed up for a policy and then you become a customer and then they don't do anything about you until you have an accident, essentially. And then you lodge a claim. So you go through the life cycle, different stages of being a customer. So these are the stages. So awareness, consideration, purchase, experience, advocacy, so on and so forth. So not necessarily when you become a customer, way before that, right? These are the stages of the journey. And then they cross that with channels, meaning that mobile phone, website, any channel you would imagine, right? And in this crossing, what is going to happen, there will be emergence of touch points, meaning that on the website, this particular URL, or on the ad, you clicked on this ad, or whatever it is in the contact center. So these are the points that you get in touch with the brand, and that's called touch point. Now, more often than not, what they do is they try to make the experience of the customer in those touch points better. That's the very main aim of the customer experience from the angle of the customer journey and touch point, right? Here is the problem. Those touch points are the tip of the iceberg. That means when you get in touch with a brand, you've already made your decision, like, I want to leave my company, or I want to leave my bank, or I want to switch the insurance, or whatever it is. That's about too late. If we want to now put all the efforts that we have from the technology people, etc., to improve the experience of the customer on that touch point, we've already lost them. They already made their decision that they want to switch or they want to do whatever it is. That's why we can see many of those experiences are not really about, they become really, they're not proactive. So when you are at that point, touch point, that means you've already made your decision. It doesn't really matter how many data and events and insight we collect about you, and it doesn't really matter how accurate is our churn calculation score in machine learning or sentiment analysis of the training data that we built. You're in touch in that point of time and you want to leave. Now, the point here I'm making is we need to do something about this before that happens. The whole idea about the customer journey and touch point and channels and improving the experience of the customer in those touch points comes from the background of the data and analytics, the traditional workflow of data and analytics. What does that look like? So that's the data and analytics workflow that we've been deploying this over decades. And what it says is, okay, we acquire data, we collect data about the customers and stuff, right? Then we organize them to make sense of it. It becomes the information. Then we analyze them to create insight. The insight can be predictive or not, can be like, okay, based on this information, this is going to be probably a churn customer, or they may like this, or they may not like this. Still an insight. It doesn't really matter, right? And then something should happen, and all of a sudden we think, that's the action they need to take. And based on that action, we want to create an optimized or better outcome that yields a better outcome. So this workflow essentially is broken because we know many of humans use data just to justify the decisions they already made. And this is not what I'm saying. This is a very valid report based on Oracle. 78% of the people essentially use the data information inside to justify their already made decisions. It's not about decision making. You already make your decisions and then you want to justify it. First point. Second point, the touch points are too late. Based on this, the customers already made their decision. So if I want to leave my bank, how can you make my experience better? You just let me go easier than make it harder, right? They are too late. Now, if we put this in the perspective, what that means is using the journey map and touch point and data analytics and improving the touch point using a framework called next best action is just a reactive act. We are always behind. It's very similar to it's very similar to steering the ship, looking at the back of it, like what has happened 30 minutes ago, rather than looking forward and see where we are heading. Who is here familiar with the NBA and next best action? Next best action or NBA? You are. All right. Next best action is a framework that allows organizations to improve your experience in those touch points, essentially. The way it works is, let's say at any point in time across the stages of you go through, become a prospect, customer, etc., through different stages that you get engaged with the brand. In financial services, for example, they're going to have around at any stage and any point 2, 3, 700 different product services they can offer you. So it's a lot. So if you open your email, that it says click here to get the discount, but you want to leave the company, right, in the insurance. So that's what they feel like when you want to leave. If we give you a discount, we're going to keep you. Or how many of us have had the experience if you want to cancel your, I don't know, video streaming, all of a sudden they give you a discount, 2 months free, right? These are the points I'm making to show you those touch points, improvement for the experience of the customer are very reactive. Now, next best action allows organizations to have that catalog of the product, services, nudges, etc., like 700 of them. And at that touch point, when you go to their website, they show you something relevant. So between all of those 700 different things, they're going to filter, are you eligible for this product or services? Is that relevant to you with the stages that you are? How likely is that this specific offer resonate with you based on the similar data and information that we train based on, for example, your profile, you're young, you're overweight, or whatever it is, right? So all of a sudden, rather than providing 700 things to you, it becomes 10. Now, out of that 10, there is an arbitration process. That means based on the similarity of you and the other clients we had, let's create something called propensity score. And we run that through this, and out of that 10, it becomes 2, right? That means out of these 2, it's more likely if we offer you, yield a better outcome. But the problem is not the algorithm and data and propensity score. The problem is more deeper. It's a reactive. So it's not a data algorithm problem. It's the whole methodology thinking problem. Now, if we want to solve that, what that means is with all of the AI and machine learning and all this fun stuff, doesn't really matter if we throw agentic AI in this problem or we build a top-notch data scientist team that built the 99% accuracy of the churn rate. It's even very obvious that based on many relevant reports that you can see, any attempt in solving this sort of problem using AI has failed, not because the algorithm wasn't accurate or LLM wasn't fine-tuned or whatever it is, it's because it's reactive to the fact that doesn't really deliver any business value, right? So how do we solve this? It's not the data, it's not AI or technology, it's the whole thinking about the touch point and journey map and next best action. So the whole AI decisioning is about building this next best action and AI as part of this journey, which is not necessarily even linear, because you get to the workshop with running the customer journey map, but that doesn't necessarily mean customer follow the map you draw on the wall. It's not. Now, what we can do is we need to flip the story. Rather than doing AI decisioning, we need intelligence. Intelligence not about the touch points and journey map, intelligence about what goes long time before they get to that touch point. We need to influence their decisions, and that's where the decision intelligence come into the picture, right? Before going deep into the decision intelligence and how we solve this problem with decision intelligence, let's do some level set. So for the people that are new in this meetup, we talk about decision intelligence a lot because that's the meetup for decision intelligence. But to very quickly tell you what it is, decision intelligence is a discipline that accepts data is important, but it's not the first thing you need to care about. What you need to care about is decisions. Now, customers have already made their decisions 30 minutes ago to cancel, they go to that touch point, right? We are talking about how we can influence those decisions rather than being reactive. In order to be able to influence those decisions, we need to know what decisions we as organization make to influence those outcomes, right? So the first thing in decision intelligence is modeling business decisions explicitly. More often than not, the AI decisioning approach is, okay, we have data and machine learning and all of that, we bundle them with rules and orchestration. The decisions become after the afterthought. We don't explicitly design decisions, we bundle all of them together, it becomes something, and then we call that's a decision. The decision intelligence entirely flipped that story. So it says, no, we don't care. Well, we care about the data, but we don't care so much. We want to make decisions, first-class citizens of organizations. How do we do that? Explicitly model business decisions. Okay, fine. We somehow model decisions, whatever it is, we're going to see it in a minute. But then what? Proactively operationalize them. So how many of them, if you've worked in the data and analytics group, machine learning, data scientist stuff, how many model have you trained that you thought is awesome and never left your laptop or computer? Or we deploy that had never effect in behavior for decision making, either for organizations or for the consumer. Like 80% of those machine learning really fail because they don't deliver any business value. If you don't change a behavior, there is no value in building it in the first place. So that's why decision intelligence becomes very important. First of all, you don't leave decisions to become afterthought byproduct of some rules and execution. And then second, when you explicitly model them, proactively operationalizing them. So that's a discipline, but let's get to a couple of slides to define what decision is, what decision model is, and then I'll show you in action what does that look like in relation to customer experience. So I wish I didn't switch to this one. Who knows what decision is besides reading that from the board? So decision is a commitment to a course of actions, right? When you decide something, that doesn't mean you execute rules and data and machine learning. So the decision, when we're talking about the decision, we're here talking about business decisions. So for example, whether we care about this segment of the market or not, we need to make a decision, right? And when we're talking about the explicitly modeling business decisions, so decision modeling, which is the next slide, that means we somehow need to, all of us at part of this group, executive data scientists, the head of marketing, the CXO, whatever, all of us agree, what does that look like? So then what that means is we need to have a common language, which take us to the next slide. So a decision model is a common language that everyone within that team agrees what the decision is and how we are going to go about it. So that common language is important because technical person understands, the executive and manager will understand, the AI also should understand. So we need a common language to specify that decision with clarity and transparency. That means clarity means everyone agrees what it is and how it's done. Transparency means when we execute that decision, the outcome that it produces is explainable. It's transparent, explainable, auditable, defensible. That's the transparency. Now, how does that relate to anything we talk about CX? It does. So remember the broken workflow of data and analytics, which we ran for decades? Decision intelligence solved a big problem. So rather than building insights, so you go data, information, insight, the best you can get is to insight. You saw that there is a barrier wall, right? So you can pass that barrier with anything, and stats and reports and research shows us. How we can pass that is to put decisions in the middle. What does that decision do? Imagine we have a way, hypothetically, that everyone in the team understand what the decision is and how we go about it. The beauty of this decision is it's outcome driven, meaning that we want to reduce the churn in company, right? Okay, reduce the churn means either we need to provide a better service or we need to provide what? If I'm the head of customer service, I have some ideas, head of marketing, other ideas, product, other ideas. So we don't know even what does that look like. Now the decision model, what it does is it brings all of this team together saying, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And then we create a model, whatever that is, we're going to show you, that everyone agrees on what that looks like to reduce the churn and how we go about it. Now, once you have that in the middle, it's not like just magical thinking anymore because we know exactly how to reduce the churn. So you work backward rather than here is all the data, let's build a machine learning model that predicts the churn rate, and at the touch point we run it. You want to leave, so here is 10% discount, right? It works backward because now we know what outcome we want to achieve, reduce churn. What decisions do we make in organizations, in group of us that we sat together that influences the outcome? What are those exactly and how we go about it? So the problem is solved. Then you don't need to have all the data in the world. You just need a set of data that supports this specific decision to reduce the churn. That solves the big problem of this broken workflow. Now, put that in the context of journey map. Customer journey map gets you to the workshop and makes you money, but doesn't solve the customer problem. What solves the customer problem is, if you look at, for example, BCG Group or McKinsey or many of these consulting firms, they have like more than 100 different reports and research that shows you customers, they go on their own way. They make their decisions for buying or canceling or whatever it is, and they contact you later. You need to influence it that time, not at the touch point. What that means is customers don't have actually journey. They have a continuum of decision making. And that's what you need to model, not the customer map, customer journey map. And that's what it's called, the continuous decision model. So it's a model. Again, we're going to model what's the decision model. It's a visual, graphical, common user, common language that, remember, everyone in that group, technical, not technical, and AI understood what it is and how we go about it. That's what it is. A visual representation of how customer takes decisions, not at touch point, based on what? Based on signal we can identify. So those shapes you see at the top of the screen, they are not touch points, they are signals. So if customer does certain behavior, then we identify they're interested in something we have now. Before getting to that touch point, can identify what that is. And based on that, we can influence them. That's the whole point. But it's not once, it's many of them that spans across the time. So you have all of these boxes connected one to after another. If you look at the customer journey map, you can see it's very linear. It's like awareness and purchase and consideration and advocacy or whatever. It's linear. It's not actually linear. This one can go however you want to go. And it's not about the touch point. It's about what we're going to predict about how customer makes that decision, right? So once we have that signal, then we can say, we receive this signal, let's influence the customer, which triggered that specific signal, triggering of looking to another product, triggering of exiting the website very quickly, triggering of sending bad, I don't know, comments on social media about whatever it is. So we can observe the pool of behavior. We can infer a set of specific signal based on those behaviors, and we can activate a model like that before they get to that touch point. That's the whole point. Now, this is making a continuum of decision making, so one decision after another. Now, what happens then? At specific signal, when a specific signal triggers, let's say signal of disinterest in continuing a subscription, right? We can observe that signal based on many events that customer do. Once we've done that, what do we do? In that point, we can give them a discount rather than waiting them to come to the call and say, I want to cancel. Or in that point, we can give them a better product or service or offer or nudges, whatever it is, to influence the outcome that they want to do, like canceling, because we identified that signal, this interest in their product, right? Now, how do we model that? So we model the continuum of series of signals and decisions, but we actually need to model one level down that path. So we need to, if we go back to the example of the reducing churn, let's say customer reducing churn in contact center, right? We identified this customer possibly is going to churn based on the signal we identified. Now, how do we change the outcome that yields to better result for us and for the customer? We need to build another model that is called decision model, which is what and how of that thing agreed between all the stakeholders, from the data scientist, the decision engineer, the IT, I don't know, whoever is responsible to deliver the good outcome for not allowing customer to churn. And here is the pickle. So what that means is we need an owner for that decision. When you look at the data and process and stuff, the owner changes, but all of a sudden when you look at the decision, now we need an owner for this specific decision. That means the ownership, accountability, team building, everything shapes around those decisions. And decision is, remember, outcome driven. So we want to reduce the churn. Who's owning that? Now, let's say that political aspect of owning a decision is resolved somehow. But joke aside, that means really it requires a top-down approach, meaning that at the executive level, there need to be a discussion about who's owning this particular outcome. Then that builds around the team for the governance, for building the decision, for operationalizing them, and all of that fun stuff. But let's put all of that aside. One practical problem that exists is how, okay, so we are in the, we know who the owner is, we have a team, etc., right? How do we actually communicate what that decision look like? Python? I don't know. If you put the Python in front of your executive on the team, same team, how do they look at that Python? I bet they're not going to understand that. So that's why the decision modeling, that common language, is important. So fortunately, in 2025, this problem is solved. There is a standard about decision model and notation. Again, it's a visual graphical language, and it can be expressive or it can be visual. But what it does is solve that particular problem. So you can build a visual graphical model that everyone on the team understands. What about the AI machine thing? Can that understands this? Yes, because DMN has multiple conformance level. That means conformance level 1, 2, 3. And they mean, is this model that you're building, is it just draw some shapes on the whiteboard? Sure, that's conformance level 1. So it's good for doodling, right? Doodling is good for ideation and making sure everyone is on the same page. And then you go out of the room and you hand it over to a Python developer. They're going to build it. Fine. It's going to work, maybe. But still, we're not clear how we go about this, right? So remember, decision modeling is what and how. What is that decision and how we go about this? Conformance level 2 means, okay, so we build this visual graphical thing that everyone understands, but now the machine can actually execute this. Not fully, still we need a lot of input and data and stuff from the IT team, fine. But at least that AI thing that we are now talking about can actually execute that model and do some real job rather than focusing on generating whatever it's need to do. Now, conformance level 3 is whatever you build, this visual, graphical, expressive thing is actually executable. So you can throw it at the computer, and it runs it and creates the outcome for you. So conformance level 3 is essentially of a DMN is what you need to go with. So you build a model that everyone's on the team understands. It has enough detail around how we go about this decision. And then once you've done that, it's not only the graphical, visual, beautiful thing on the whiteboard, you can actually execute it. So that's where the conformance level 3 comes in. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, who knows actually DMN and decision modeling here? All right. Let's do quick crash course in DMN. All right. Decision modeling. So we're going to build a common language that everyone on the team, technical, non-technical, and AI, understands what the decision is and how we need to go about it. The best thing to have that common language is a visual language. Everyone understands this. Now, decision model annotation has a couple of specific shapes and nodes on the screen, as you can see, and they mean different things. Those round pink rectangles are input data. Fine. So everyone sees to calculate something called health premium. And by the way, those rectangles are decisions. The guys is at the corner at the top right side of the screen. So we have decisions and we have inputs. So that says what it is we are trying to decide. What it is calculating the health premium. How we go about it is we need all of these other decisions and all of those inputs to calculate it. Now you can go one level deeper and saying, okay, fine, so that's good, but how do we actually do the COVID decision? Okay. To understand how we do now those individual boxes, we need to first specify what were those data inputs we were talking about, right? So we had just one box saying customer additional data. What does that look like? Is it my age or is it my weight or what is it? So the next level is you define what that is, those data inputs that you want. Here is a beautiful thing is going to happen. Now, even if you want to do machine learning or AI or whatever it is, the technology you want to use, now you don't need all the data in the world. You just need the data that supports that. And guess what? You don't need to spend like gazillions months to build something that reduces significantly the amount of data validation, data effort, data pipeline, whatever that you need to do, because guess what? You just need those data points. And who says that? As part of team, we are having this discussion right now. What data do you need to do that, right? So it becomes upfront, facing the reality. What does it look like in details and how we are going to go about it? So fine, data is figured out. What about the domain knowledge, the rules that we need to have? Sure. Decision model annotation has something called decision table. Decision table is a way tabular form. And guess what? It's very similar look and feel to Excel. Why Excel? Everyone knows Excel. That's why we're using a common language that everyone understands. Remember, that's the point. Okay, so if we build what and how we go about it, the previous 2 slides back, then we specify the data points we need for those specific boxes, decisions. So decisions, if it's rule driven, we have a technique to do that in decision model annotation, right? That's called a decision table. Guess what? Tabular form are not always right or one fit size approach to do rules. So we need more other form of nested and complex behavior of the rules. So there is another form called natural language, allows you to build those rules for those boxes that everyone knows what it is. With the business glossaries and business terminologies, you can see on the picture, it's not like you're writing a expression in, I don't know, Python or C# or Java or whatever that programming language is. You're using the business terms and terminologies to specify those domain knowledge and rules. Therefore, it's understandable for SME, operation manager, and other stakeholders outside of the technical team, right? And guess what? Not all the knowledge you need to execute those decisions are rule driven. There are calculation, formulation, expression. I don't know, you name it. You need to formulate stuff as well. It's not only about the rules. So decision model annotation provides something called box expressions. It has an expressive language similar to Excel, right? So you can have this cell multiply that cell and sum it up with the other one. So there are some formulas and expression language that allows you to build that calculation. And, well, what is going to happen is it's not always rules and calculation. We might need to be predicting something that is going to happen, right? Machine learning, we might to do regression classification, whatever that domain knowledge is that we need to make that decision. Remember, the other good thing about the decision modeling is not like, off you go, here's the data, build the machine learning, and then you build it and never is used. Now, that effort of building and operationalizing the machine learning is scoped at the decision context. That means no matter what, if they operationalize that decision, which they will, because remember, it came top down from the executive and CEO and stuff, we want to reduce the churn. Therefore, the probability of getting this operational is way higher than I build something on my machine and I hope that it's going to go to production. So you have executive support, and they understand what this is, and they understand how you go about it, and you have a specific data set to support it. Now, if you build it, it becomes part of the decision that is going to go to the production. So your model also goes to the production. So this is called composite AI, meaning that you have a holistic model which combines multiple different techniques, including rules and calculation and data query and machine learning to does stuff, right? So you can include your machine learning there. And guess what? You might want to do some other form of machine learning, not classical machine learning, regression, classification stuff. You can do reinforcement learning, adaptive training, or whatever it is. So as part of this composite AI model that you build, you're gonna build, you're gonna attach your algorithm and the feedback loop and all of that to a model that is going to go to the production. So the problem of many data scientists is solved. So they can build a model that actually is used with organizations. So the idea of composite model, composite AI model, is that this graphical graph you see on the screen, each boxes of that has different techniques within the AI or non-AI, for example, calculation or domain, or for example, domain knowledge based on rules, or machine learning for regression classification, or reinforcement learning, reinforcement learning, or whatever it is. Now, once you've built that, what's going to happen is you need to put all of this together to work. How do you do this? Remember this model. This was continuous decision model to define a continuum for decision making for the customers before they get to that touch point with identifying those signals, right? Now, at any of these signals, you can say, okay, if they actually receive a call, or you can cross it now, that model with the channels. So it's not about now after the fact they decided, we know exactly how we influence them to give us the call, right? Based on the signals we have. Now we can say cross of that continuum within that specific signal that we received, execute this decision model, which we just, by the way, built, right? So it uses machine learning and calculation and database query and all of that, and it does the stuff. Now, okay, customer goes to the email, and guess what? They already, we had the conversation in the phone. They go to email. It's relevant now because we know the signal that we already talked to. It's not after the fact. We have those signals now, and the signal is associated with these boxes at the continuum of the decision making. Now, based on that, they go to email, they open it, we kick off a process that does stuff, and as part of that, we also calculate, for example, that decision model at the right side of the screen calculates a discount for them, right? So it becomes proactive rather than reactive because we combine two things: the continuous decision model, which models the continuum of decision making before things go sideways based on those signals. And then we have a decision model, which actually goes on what decision is it relevant to the outcome we want to achieve. We have all the executive stakeholders agreed on, and how we go about it is clear to everyone. And that's what we execute. So if I want to summarize, there's an old school way to do the CX, customer experience, right? We can go with the customer journey map and touch point and next best action. Stat shows that hasn't worked at least for 2 years in a row. Or we can go in a new way, which is we build a continuum of decision making, which is not reactive. It's actually very much proactive. So we identify signals. Based on those signals, we kick off the decision model, which does stuff. So quite opposite to what the traditional approach in the CX goes about it. Any questions?
New model. We basically have the customer outside of the system. They are not still within the system. Okay? But we want to actually put an effect on how they approach us even before they.
Correct.
Did I get it?
So it's a
The customer, why we still don't know they are even.
correct. So in the marketing, I don't know who came up with that number, and I don't know the correct reference to that person, but it's like at any point of time, there are only 5% of your total accessible market are in the market for doing a business with you, 5%, right?
Yeah.
So there are different techniques you can do. You can put an ad and funnel some visitors to ad and see who are those people. You can put social media. You can do tactical thing to identify those 5%, right?
Something you prepare an infrastructure to get information from the customers who are
Prospects. There are not even the customers, right? So if you look at the traditional funnel in marketing, it's like unaware. I'm not even aware that I have a problem, right? And then it goes like, okay, I know I have a problem. I don't know what my solution is. And you go next step is like, okay, I know these 5 things are my solution to the problem that I know of. And then goes to the next part of the file. I know this specific offer is solving my problem. And guess what? There are many other people that or brands are offering the similar thing. So they have to win this. So it goes back to cross of CX, product marketing, and brand positioning. But that's a different story. Customer experience is all of that, not just your customer want to leave or churn or whatever it is.
Well, customers have access to AI as well. Last time I bought insurance, I took my previous policy, gave it to Perplexity, did a deep research. It went and did the research on 40 brands and told me which one I should do. I did that one and I saved more than $1,000 on my previous insurance.
Absolutely.
But I didn't do any of this.
No.
So how does it work anymore? Whether costing these agents, how do you deduct intelligence from agents?
So guess what? So this is a very, I don't want to say challenge, but very same thing that we as company face, right? People go to, I don't know, ChatGPT, they say the best decision intelligence platform on the earth. And guess what? We come there. How brands do this? There are different strategies that they need to discuss internally, right? You can build up contents, but to make sure that content resonate with agents, it's not the content for people. So you have to specifically build content for agents. So that's one way of doing it. Similar to search engine optimization now, agent, LLM optimization, whatever it is, it's gonna come. So they don't, well, they make up stuff, that's fine, that's part of it, but it's not like human don't make stuff up, we also make stuff. But in order to be visible to agents and LLMs and ChatGPT and OpenAI and God knows what else, there's different strategies that is part of the marketing content, whatever strategy is. we do that very similar thing, and we are very visible to those agents as a company.
I mean, Simon, question, this decision model mutation, is it like a CRM platform that you guys have developed for the clients where they can feed in their data and that's how they live this?
So decision model annotation, DMN, is an open standard. We didn't build that open standard. It's an existing standard, but we built a platform that supports that standard, right? It's like Python. There are, I don't know, 200 different ID for Python. They didn't build Python. Python as a standard, there are different IDs for it and different platform that supports Python.
That's platform.
That supports all of it.
Like talking about the data integration, when you meet with clients, is it like the data which they provide you, is it in Excel or like they give you some sort of database APIs to interact that?
Yeah, so it really depends on the maturity of the platform you're working with. We have over 400 different data integration. So in the ecosystem of enterprise, it's very unlikely there is an integration point that we don't have. Also, we support the usual suspects like API, SOAP, file, I don't know. Those covers almost everything. Excellent. So hopefully next year we come here when we see the uptick in the customer experience. Thank you, guys. I hope that was useful. And that was our take on the customer experience, how to improve it.